Hey everybody, this is the first game of SPL 14. It's 2023. This game actually happened yesterday, and so we have M-Dragon representing the Evergrande Bigs and Fear from the Circus Maximus Tigers. This is definitely a game that a lot of people are looking forward to see. You got the technician that is Fear, and M-Dragon who is a veteran in his own right. And with the way the meta is today, I only expect there to be something like offense involved, just high-paced offense. But who knows, it can really go any way. There's no telling with these players. So I'm just going to click the button, and we got Zapdos on Zapdos lead. I'm going to be a little more analytical this time around, so the idea with Zapdos on Zapdos is that, there isn't much that can be told from the first turn up front, but you have two electric leads. It could be in one player's interest to take out the opposing Zapdos. There are no special EV spreads because it's Gen 2. So depending on what they have in the back, they may want to engage or switch straight to their Lax or a Steelix or something. M-Dragon takes a chunk, misses the Thunder, and goes to his own Lax. And Fear stays in to click Thunder on what is a Curse Lax, most likely Rest Talk. So this is most likely to be the primary electric answer on M-Dragon's team, which also tells us that it's quite likely an offense team. Curse is an excellent way of getting information. Now, some people would immediately switch out, but the advantage of having Zapdos in on Lax, aside from the potential for a crit and forcing the Lax to rest and all that, is that with a bit of that chip, you're able to get the jump on it as you go to Cloister and set up your spikes rather safely, because M-Dragon is going to think twice before switching out immediately to whatever it is they want to switch out to, should they even consider that option. I think in the best case scenario, M-Dragon is going to attack or set up further, and that's going to prompt Fear to respond in one way or another, either going to their Spiker or to a Phaser, or who knows. So Fear is staying in one extra turn, gets a full para on that next turn, and here you see the benefits of staying in on the Lax. Zapdos is able to take a +1 double edge. Obviously, Paralysis, Body Slam sucks, but I just have a hunch that this Snorlax is not Body Slam. And the only thing Fear really has to worry about at that point is a crit. But anyways, Fear gets his spikes on the resting Snorlax because it's forced to rest at 50% and parried. Click Sleep Talk. Fear's gonna get some chip, and if they want to, they can boom, but that might not be their primary answer because the boom doesn't KO, so they go to Gengar. Now we've seen Sleep Talk, so we know in fact that this is most likely the best electric answer, and so Gengar is going to stay in on this Lax. Oh lord. Okay. It's a good thing I said I was going to analyze everything. Well, the whole idea here is that when you do have a Gengar, you obviously have to watch out for any Pursuit T-Tar in the back, and especially with Mono Lax teams, that's very likely scenario. Now, depending on what coverage move Gengar has, usually Gengar has a move that is meant to punish T-Tar in some way, like D-Punch or Hypnosis. D-Punch makes the Gengar versus Lax matchup a little bit more difficult, but it makes their life easier against T-Tar. The reason being that they can really take out a huge chunk on T-Tar, dealing like more than 50% on it, and so you can disengage. You can run away without being pursuit trapped, potentially. The problem is that if you have to PP stall Snorlax, then you can only rely on crits and freezes, but lucky for Fear, they get that. If it were Hypnosis, it would have been a lot easier because it has way more PP. So Fear gets the freeze, which is potentially a big deal. M-Dragon is going to hope to thaw out at the end of the turn. It's a 10% chance to thaw out every turn the Pokemon is in. They don't even have to be in at the beginning. T-Tar on Gengar. Now, this is interesting. It's interesting for a number of reasons, just based on how they've been playing up until this point. Does this thing have Pursuit? We don't know. What does Fear have to combat this? Is it a Thief Gar? And if it's a Thief Gar, in that case it might not have an answer to T-Tar. Sometimes special attacking offense teams want T-Tar out of the way, like Psychic offense. So Gengar could even be Destiny Bond. The T-Tar here could have EQ, it could be a Mixed Tar, it could be a Pursuit Tar. We still don't know yet. But it did take a crit, so it's not quite in 2-hit KO range, but the T-Bolt is going to take away a lot of HP. So Fear has to click a move here that is going to benefit him, but they can't exactly 1v1 the T-Tar. That's what I think. So they could, for instance, go to Cloyster, though that's not necessarily optimal, but they could. That could be an option. And we'll see. So they click Hypnosis and take an EQ, so that could have been huge. Absolutely huge. Like astronomically, but the Hypnosis didn't connect. And so T-Tar does not click Pursuit, interestingly enough, on that turn. That might explain why they didn't go to T-Tar earlier, and maybe the T-Tar would have been the one to take the freeze instead of the Snorlax. So instead, we have this scenario here. Fear finally revealing their big boss monster, the Snorlax. So in comes Cloyster from M-Dragon's end, and I'm just going to assume that they're going to go for Spikes here. Reason being, you don't want, even if you can get a Toxic, you probably want to cement those spikes as early as possible. So we've seen the EQ. This quite likely could be a Sleep Talk, but I wouldn't put it past Fear to make this Snorlax Curse EQ. I still can't quite tell how it would benefit the team, but Sleep Talk, for one, would make the team a little bit less susceptible. I don't think you would have Sleep Talk EQ and then something like Steelix in the back, but I'm not quite sure, just because of how it pairs up against Stall. If that were to be the case, then they would need something to really break Stall. So I'm getting the sensation that Fear, just based on the player that he is, would have something like a special offense in the back. And then we have this Cloyster here. So that's a good call to go for that boom. This will potentially help M-Dragon out. So we do see a Lix. Alright. So I guess there's no knowing what set that Snorlax was besides EQ. You know what? With the Lix, it could be Curse, now that I think about it. This kind of reflects some of those Vaporeon teams. Though usually they have an Exeggutor over Gengar, which makes sense to me. So some people prefer Body Slam to benefit for, like, to help slower attackers. Some have Double Edge because they prefer the damage over everything else. Now we gotta find out what set this Gengar is. It's certainly not Thief. It could also have Hypnosis of its own, but M-Dragon is gonna go to Zapdos, and this to me makes sense. as they do go for a Thunder, perhaps over-predicting a little bit, and they get boomed on. So that's interesting, because with the... I felt as though with the Cloister out of the way, the Licks could have helped quite a bit, but this also is helpful. I can't imagine Fear having a ground-type attacker in the back with 2 Earthquake users already revealed. So I don't quite see how the booming on Zapdos helped Fear necessarily, but it's all just speculation. It's actually a big blur to me right now. We got Gengar. Gengar taking a Thunder, getting parried. And boomed. So the Zap is gone. And now an Espeon reveal in the back. Espeon is strong enough to take out the Cloister with Psychic, much like Jinx would do, but it's actually faster. And then we see one Pokemon that's even faster than Espeon, Jolteon. This is actually really bad for M-Dragon, and yet another para off of a T-Bolt this time. And that's a big deal, probably. Though the Jolteon was faster, all the same. And we know for a fact that this T-Tar has EQ, so they're going to go for that, but is it going to live against Gengar? It could be just out of range. It gets a 23%. So I'm not sure if that roll was a big deal, but now it's pretty much lax on Gengar, so this is looking like curtains here. We've seen all that there is to be seen, and if they haven't... No, I was about to say something really stupid. But Gengar cannot PP stall because it has Explosion. So, I mean, it can't live to ever reach Struggle, but it can outlast this Lax, potentially. So, there it is. Game over. Pretty interesting, if I do say so myself. I feel like the Tyranitar with the Earthquake should have had Pursuit, because I kind of feel as though Espeon likes special walls out of the way, special walls like Raikou. So if you can Pursuit a Raikou as it switches out, that's also of great benefit to the team. And we see at the end of it that M-Dragon did have quite a susceptible team, and they did go for Thunder turn 1, going back there. They went for Thunder turn 1, probably to capitalize off of a forced rest scenario, but it didn't happen. They missed the Thunder. They didn't want to waste their Zapdos, which didn't actually end up doing all that much. And the Lax is nice, but I feel like the matchup was a little bit cheated a bit. Like, M-Dragon seemed like they tried to cut a few extra corners for an advantage here. Booming on the Lax definitely benefits M-Dragon more than this boom on the Zapdos would benefit Fear, in my opinion, because Jolteon can just come in. Of course, you're free to disagree. Gengar is super threatening. Gengar can really sock it to the whole team, but they end up eventually trading, so it went down pretty well. And in no point in this endgame is Espeon even allowed to click Growth. That's the sad part. Like, Fear was just chock full of booms, and then one Mon that is just simply faster. So Jolteon always has Growth, usually has HP Water for Golem, and the last move could be something along the lines of Baton Pass. Some players could even go for something like sub or rest, or who knows, right? Usually it's pretty straightforward though. As for Espeon, sometimes players use Morning Sun, sometimes they use Baton Pass, sometimes they use Substitute, sometimes they have Hidden Power Water to hit T-Tar and potentially also Houndoom. But yeah, not only does it get... The para on Espeon doesn't really matter as long as M-Dragon gets past the Jolteon, but they can't because of the boosted T-Bolt. So there you go. There you have it. This was a rather quick game. I'm still not quite sure about the damage, the roll there. Kind of curious of the Gengar versus T-Tar matchup, because that seemed like it had to be a somewhat high roll, because the T-Tar is at 23, but usually Showdown rounds up, so I would say something more along the lines of 22.5, but let's see. So the T-Bolt, 56%. Yeah, those were good odds. They were good odds. Much better odds than clicking, or perhaps not. I don't know. Maybe they were not good odds. 28%. Never mind. Yeah, that was somewhat of a high roll, yeah. Alright, well. We did what we could, I guess. Anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this first match of SPL, and, you know, keep an eye out.